Starting chapter 2, this is actually where things get easier. I don't know if you remember the last 3 quarters or last times you've seen this, but typically what's happened is chapter 1, which is a really tough chapter, causes a lot of frustration. Then chapter 2 kind of starts, and if you allow that frustration from chapter 1 to keep going, then it kind of keeps you from getting chapter 2. This is actually a very easy chapter here. It's really simple. All you gotta do is just make sure you do your best to make sure you understand it. I would say make sure that you also learn from whatever you did preparing online or preparing through the video for the last chapter that you did, because what I noticed in my class at least was that I had people who got questions right on the quiz, and then I don't think they took it as seriously for the test, and then they missed those same questions on the test. Well, here's the thing. Your quiz questions, which is these, not these specifically, but the questions we're working on today, are going to be held for 2 weeks, which means if you can get the questions that we work on right to this week and next week, then that's actually going to help your score, which is why whenever I have those review things, you want to make sure you actually try to review. That is, at least if you're trying to get out. And I know it's tough to try to keep this going, but just remember that it is working, and you can actually see how it's working, because as far as what I'm doing in my room, and I think everybody else is also, we're changing your third quarter grade, which means if you just look at your third quarter grade for chapter 2 quiz 1, you should see that there's probably a score in there that's pretty low, and I think that we can probably try to fix that if you just, again, do what you need to do during this time to try to take it seriously and actually learn it. Trust me when I say, again, this is not tough material. It just takes for you to actually try. So starting with the one-step equations, which is not part of your quiz, but the one steps is what everything's built off of. The general idea is when you see a plus sign, so you want to get x alone, you see plus 7, that means you're just automatically going to put the opposite of plus 7, which is minus 7 on both sides. And you have to show it this way. Again, I understand you may not want to play this game, but you have to show it this way. There's no other option. Your x comes down, 7 minus 7 goes away, 9 minus 7 is 2, and that's your answer. And yes, we know that x equals 2, but you have to show that that's what x equals 2 came from. You can't just write x equals 2. You can't just write some other stuff. You have to actually play the game. You have to prove that, you know, that this is important to you. So again, when I see x plus 3 equals 10, the plus 3 means I'm automatically going to put minus 3, and just make it a habit. You see plus 3, you move it with minus 3. X comes down, these two things go away, 10 minus 3 is 7. X plus 10 equals 13. Once you see plus 10, just automatically put minus 10 under it. That comes down, this goes away, 13 minus 10 is 3. Same but different, x minus 4 equals 5. When you see minus 4, just put plus 4 underneath it, because that's how you make it go away. X comes down, again, positive 4, negative 4 mean nothing. 5 plus 4 is 9, and there is your answer. All right. X minus 2 equals 7. Minus 2 means put plus 2. X comes down, 2's go away, 7 plus 2 is 9. X minus 1 equals 9. Again, once you see x minus 1, automatically just get it into your habits to put the opposite of minus 1, which is plus 1. These two things go away. 9 plus 1 is 10. That is it. So those are your one-step addition and subtraction, which again really is not that bad, and it doesn't really get that much more difficult. That's why I said that this is actually an easy chapter. This is probably where you can make up a lot of ground. If you just try it out and make sure you start to practice like you're supposed to, it should be okay. This is 3x, which means 3 times x. You have to remember that when you have multiplication, you don't put anything. So again, you need to train yourself to know this is 3 times x, which means the way you get rid of that 3 is by dividing by 3, dividing by 3. We used to do this on MathXL, which still works if you want to put divided by 3 with a division symbol, that's fine. But either way, 3 divided by 3 goes away. X comes down. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Here, 5 times x equals 25. So you divide by 5 and you divide by 5. X comes down because those two things go away. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Just take it seriously enough to practice it, and I promise you might actually be almost done by the time you finish chapter 2, because I think that chapter 2 is where a lot of people slipped because they didn't care about it, mostly because of chapter 1, which I told you chapter 1's tough on everybody. Chapter 1 will be tough for you once you get to 134b, and then after that it kind of gets easy. I don't know why they do that, but it is the pattern I've noticed. 2 times x equals 8. Divide by 2, divide by 2. This goes away. X comes down. 8 divided by 2 is 4. That's it. And then the last type of one-step equation is x divided by 6. Remember, that line means divided by. So x divided by 6 means that what we want to do is multiply by 6. Multiply by 6. Those two 6's go away. X comes down with 18. Or some of you still write it this way, which again, it doesn't matter how you write it. Times 6 times 6. 6's go away. X equals 18. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Just make sure you understand you're multiplying. It does help later on to do it this way because that's really the way that you're doing the multiplication. But again, just pick whatever way works for you and stick with it. As long as you practice it, it should be fine. Again, you've got 3 days of practice, and I don't really think that the questions that we're going to do are that tough. X divided by 2 equals 9. Again, divided by 2, so multiply by 2, because remember, parentheses typically means multiply. These two things go away. X comes down. 9 times 2 is 18. There's your answer. X divided by 3 equals 2. Divided by 3 means times 3 times 3. These two things go away. And X is equal to 6. So pause the video for a second and do those 4 questions to make sure you've at least got the 1 steps. Remember that this is not the quiz. This is the stuff that you need to do well on the quiz. So you want to probably check yourself. And again, think about this. If every time I told you to pause the video last week or last couple weeks and you didn't, and then you didn't do well, that might be why. So I'm telling you, chapter 2 is where things get better. So if you can just try your best to make sure you do what you're supposed to do, even though nobody's forcing you to do it, that's going to make a difference. Really, nobody's forcing you to do it because none of us can give you the grade. So again, go ahead and do this stuff, please. Pause the video, do these 4, and then resume. Hopefully when you saw the +3, you put -3 under it. Hopefully when you saw the -5, you put +5 under it. Use your fingers to count if you have to. It doesn't matter. Hopefully when you saw 2 times x, you put divided by 2. And hopefully when you saw x divided by 4, you put some version of times 4. Because again, that is the 4 operations that you're looking at. And there's only 4 operations. Look at a calculator. That's it. Plus, times, plus, minus, times, divided by. That's it. And notice the plus and minus are opposite. Times divided by are opposites. That's all you need to know. You just have to make sure, again, that you care enough and practice enough to make sure you get that stuff under control so that you can actually show that stuff the way it's supposed to. And here's a funny thing. If I put x plus 1 equals 7 and you say something plus 1 is 7, we all know the answer is 6. If I say 2 times something is 10 and you're thinking, you already know that answer is 5. The trick is not knowing it. That's what you have to get out of your system. It's not about knowing the answer. It's about being able to say, this is why the answer is 5. This is why the answer is 6. And as long as you keep avoiding doing this part, you're going to have to repeat this class every year unless you learn other things. But no teacher is going to let you go without showing this part. And trust me, I taught all these levels. They don't let you go until you start showing that. Yes, you know the answer, but it's not enough to just know it. You have to start playing the game and showing the answer so you can get the points that you deserve. So your overall goal for this week is, I'm giving you 5 question types out of 7 this week. I'm not going to teach the other 2 because, again, I don't want to push too much into your head. But here's the thing. 5 divided by 7 is a 71%. I told you that if you get a 50%, that kind of puts you where you're supposed to be. But this is also why I said that this chapter is an easy chapter, because this is the score you can get off of 3 days of basic work. You just have to, again, make sure you take it seriously enough, make sure you pay attention, make sure you ask questions if necessary, email your teacher, let them know, do whatever you have to do. But again, make sure you're talking to your teachers, because from what I know, at least in my classes, we don't know what you're doing on each day. So if you're ready to take the quiz and you don't say anything, then you're not probably going to get the quiz, because the teacher really doesn't know that you're ready for the quiz. And so make sure you're speaking up, because if you don't, you're going to waste your own time, and it doesn't hurt the teacher when you fail. I don't know if you think that that's a rule or anything, that when you fail, your teacher gets in trouble, but we don't. 3x plus 2 equals 11. Here's what you need to know. Going back to this. Order of operations was multiplication, division was on top of addition, subtraction. Well, in terms of solving, you want to move the weaker, which means we're usually going to move the addition, subtraction first, and then go up the ladder to multiplication, division. So all you have to do is see your plus 2, so we naturally again should put minus 2. We then bring down the full 3x. We then cross out the 2. 11 minus 2 is 9. Now we have 3 times x equals 9, which means that we now say divided by 3, and x is equal to 3. I want you to look at that question, and then I want you to look at these 4 questions and recognize all we did was combine number 13 with number 15. First thing we did was move that number. Second thing we did was move that number. That's it. It's a 2-step equation. That's what your quiz is about. 2-step equations and some fraction stuff that we're not going to get into. There is one fraction thing we're going to get into, but that's because, again, I think it's easy enough to do, and I think that it will help if you just try it out and stick with me. 4x minus 5 equals 15. Again, move the plus minus first, so minus means put plus 5. Plus 5, 4x therefore equals 20. Now look at that. 4 times x is 20, so we divide by 4, and x is equal to 5. 2x minus 3 equals 11. Focus on the minus 3 first, which means, again, naturally put plus 3 and plus 3. Bring down the full 2x. This goes away. 11 plus 3 is 14. That's 2 times x equals 14, so you divide by 2, and get the answer of x equals 7. Again, you can probably do this out of muscle memory. When you see that, just put divided by. When you see that, put plus. When you see this, put minus. Muscle memory will get you through this quiz. 5x plus 2 equals 12. Again, you see the plus 2, put minus 2. 5x comes down with 10. Divide by 5, and x is equal to 2. That's it. Even on these, you're still going to move the plus 2 first by using minus 2. And then this is x divided by 3, so you're going to do times 3 times 3. X comes down with 9. Once again, look back at the questions that we did here. All we did was mix whatever one of these two was with this one. It's the same steps. Nothing is different from what you've learned ever since September, I believe, sometime in September. X over x divided by 5 minus 2 equals 1. So again, start with the 2 by putting its opposite underneath it. Bring down the x over 5. Bring down the 3. That means x divided by 5. So we want to multiply by 5. The 5's go away. 5 times 3 is 15. And that is your answer. Again, it's not going to be tough. You just need to make sure you're ready for the things that you're going to see this week. X over 2 plus 6 equals 9. Once again, the plus 6 means put minus 6. Bring down your x over 2. 9 minus 6 is 3. This means x divided by 2, so we put times 2 and times 2. This goes away. X comes down with 6, and that is all. X over 9 minus 1 equals 2. Again, minus 1 means put plus 1 first. X over 9 therefore equals 3. From there, that means x divided by 9, so we put times 9. I don't know if you remember the trick for 9, but for 9, what you do is you drop that 3 down to a 2, and then figure out 2 plus what equals 9, which is 7. 27 would be your answer. Or again, just use that multiplication table, because I'm not taking it away for this time around. It's just going to be the full multiplication table at the bottom of the page. Number 25. Yes, slightly different, but nothing really different. You're still going to move the minus 2 by putting plus 2, plus 2. Bring down the negative 3x because you need to make sure you keep that the same. And then all you have to do is apply what you should have been learning over the other time with the integers, which is divide by negative 3 because that's negative 3 times x. But here's the thing. Anytime the signs are different and you divide, it's going to be a negative answer. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So your answer is -3. Same thing. -5x plus 1 equals 21. -1 minus 1. Bring down your -5x. That becomes 20. You then divide by -5, divide by -5. These two things go away. And then, yes, this is 4, but because the signs are different, it's -4. So really all you're doing is the same thing that you did the whole time. You just have to get used to the negative part. And if you get the practice on MathXL, or you do the practice on your worksheets like you're supposed to, you'll get there. But again, I don't know how else to stress that if you're not working and doing your part to get better at this stuff, you're not going to get out of here. -2x plus 3 equals 13. So you put -3 and -3. -2x, 10. Divide by -2. Very repetitive, very redundant, very boring actually. 10 divided by 2 is 5. The signs are different, so you make it negative. You can train yourself to get this in your sleep because it is that repetitive. I'm talking right now, not even thinking about the fact that I should be teaching it. Sorry. -2 means put +2 +2. These two things go away. -7, that comes down with 14. You then divide by -7 because that's -7 times x. This goes away. 14 divided by -7 is -2. That's it. So do me a favor, again, make sure you do this for yourself. These are the 3 types of problems that we're focusing on from the quiz. These are all 3 quiz questions. Please pause the video and see how well you can do on them, and then go to MathXL and get some practice, because that is where you're going to do well. Once you learn this stuff, you can't unlearn it. That's why I don't like the fact that I saw people who got certain questions right on the quiz and then for some reason just acted as if they weren't ready for the test, even though you knew the test was coming. You have to make sure you do that stuff. But go ahead, pause the video. Let's see what happens. For +5, we should start out with -5. Bring down your 4x. 17 minus 5 is 12. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. X equals 3. For -5, you want to put +5. X over 2 comes down with 6. This is x divided by 2, so we do times 2. X comes down with 12. And then the one that is still pretty much the same as this, because if you watch carefully, both of these are going to have the same order. Move this number here the same way that you did all whole time, which is put the opposite of it. Divide by whatever is attached to x, just like we did up here. The only difference in this question is that you have to just, again, be careful to remember that when the signs are different, it ends up being a negative answer. Here's what's funny. If you put the +2 down, that's a point. If you bring down the -5 and the 10, that's a point. If you divide by -5, that's a point. And then let's say you forget about the negative. So what? You missed 1, but that's still 3 out of 4 points, which 3 divided by 4 is. You would still get 75% of these points just for doing that, even if you're not the best. So you get 100% of these, 100% of that, 75% of that. You really can't lose. As long as you are trying your best to get out of here, I promise you can get out of here, but it still comes down to whether or not you're actually trying to do this stuff and doing what you need to do on your own time. So please go to MathXL, get some serious practice on this stuff, because again, we're not going to just let you out of here because you're watching a video and writing things on the paper. Make sure you're actually trying to learn this stuff so you can quit, or so you can get out of this room. Outside of that, have a good day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.